video demonstrating how to do some basic makeup. I am the regular character Tenoshi in the Project Potemkin series, multiple series, and I occasionally freelance as a makeup artist, and I have a degree in theater, which included a lot of makeup there too, so that's my creds. All right, so I'm gonna have this because I'm pretty blind, so I'm gonna have to look in a mirror with this. We're gonna start off with hair out of the face and a clean base. So you want your face to be washed, preferably not with basic soap and water because that can really dry out your skin. Instead, you'll want to use a face wash and some water, or even just a makeup wipe. Also, you need to make sure that you have some good moisture, some good clean moisture. This can be accomplished sometimes with just your primer, but use your moisturizer of choice. If you tend to have really oily skin, I recommend going with like a gel-based moisturizer. If you have very dry skin, you can use a cream-based moisturizer. Even if you're just using like oil of Olay, moisturize your skin. It's good for you. All right, so where we're going to start off is with primer. So primer helps to even out your skin tone, even any roughness that you have, and it helps your foundation to have something to stick to so it stays better. Randy asked me to keep my product choices very economical. So the primer that I'm going to recommend today is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. This is very highly ranked, and this is a skin smoothing primer if you have a lot of red discoloration. e.l.f. also has a green primer, so the color theory red and green even out, so that your skin color becomes much more neutral. But I'm just taking a quick brush and I'm going to just put this everywhere, and then I'll go back in and even it in. And this part you can just, a lot of people use makeup sponges, which I have a few of those. I'll show you that in a minute. But a lot of people like to use makeup sponges to apply their foundation. It really just depends on the foundation. I tend to like brushes purely because brushes are easier to clean than makeup sponges. And you can see I'm just being pretty sloppy with this. It's the base. It doesn't, you don't have to worry about getting it as even as the foundation. All right, so that's on. Like I said, I am blind as a bat, so I am going to put on my glasses and check real quick. Oh, I missed a spot on my nose. And you want to kind of, with everything, you're going to want to blend it into your neck and to your ears. And make sure you get your hairline. If you have darker hair, or if you're, I mean, I'm pretty light-haired. So if your skin tone and your hair are drastically different colors, you want to be much more careful with this, or else you'll get foundation in your hair and it's just a mess. I don't have to worry about that so much. All right, so that's all. And always close your stuff back up, or else it'll dry out and not last as long. Okay, so next we're gonna go on to foundation. This is my favorite foundation. Okay, it's being weird. It's Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. Yeah, that worked. Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. So the way I do this is I just put a little bit on the back of my hand, and then you can use a different brush, or if you could use the same brush, it doesn't matter. But I just take and I start the places where I want the heaviest coverage, and I apply it there. So like my under eyes, right here where I've got redness on my forehead, down my nose where unfortunately my nose tends to have a lot of redness, and the T-zone that tends to move around a lot. So that's where I cover first. And then I like to get, like you can see, I get a little bit of discoloration right here. So I just cover that first. And then I have a different brush that I prefer to use. And so this is just a personal choice, but whenever I'm doing my foundation, I like brushes that are flat like that. And then I usually just use like circular motions and buff it in. Get the ears. And I've got just a little bit left, so that's what I'm grabbing to make sure that it continues to be a smooth blur. Excuse the baby. It's almost her bedtime. Because when you have a baby, who does makeup first thing in the morning? Right? All right. So I just grabbed a little bit more because I didn't apply the base coat with this brush, so it didn't have a lot built up on it. All right. And the tapping motions tends to lay down more and disturb it a little less. And then of course, we're gonna blend onto the chin and down the neck. And if you've matched your skin tone well, then really all you're doing is just kind of making a blurred line into your regular skin tone. All right, and now, because I'm blind as bat, we're going to look looking pretty good, I think. All right, now next part would be concealer. And of course I was a goob and forgot to get my concealer out ahead of time. So now I'm looking through all of my makeup. We're just gonna pause this. Okay, I'm back. So I'm using Tarte Shape Tape. This is just a tiny little one, so it cost me like just a few bucks. Excuse my husband. So this is Tarte Shape Tape. It's a little bit more expensive. It's very high coverage. Also, you could use Maybelline. The Age Rewind Maybelline is really highly rated. I just don't have any right now. So I'm going to use this, but I do recommend the Maybelline Age Rewind. I also really like one by Rimmel, and it's got a brush tip. Sorry, I don't remember the name of it. So we're just gonna go in the areas where we want a little bit more coverage, like my dark circles from dealing with a toddling little 1-year-old, my redness from not getting enough sleep. And then we're also going to add a little bit more definition in places that we want to look sharper. So this is called basic highlighting and contour. And so it's playing with the concepts of light and shadow on our face. So if I was to bring this out a little bit more this way, it will, once I blend it in, help my cheekbone look sharper, especially when I add contour there. So I'm going to do that because I'm a Vulcan. We got to look a little sharp. And do a little bit more here. And then just to add a little pop and make the chin stand out a little bit more. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. Baby is upset. Poor little baby. Her dad will handle it. All right, and I'm gonna go back to using this brush. All right. Okay, baby crisis averted. Man, the bloopers on this are just gonna be amazing, aren't they? There you go, Randy. All right, so we're just gonna blend in, and we don't want it to go everywhere. So what I'm doing is I'm just using patting motions. And like I said when I was doing my foundation and I was doing the patting motions help your concealer or your foundation or whatever you're working with not to move around as much. So we really like patting motions for, and then I'm gonna do here, we really like patting motions for putting down our base. And then areas that, like here, we're just doing basic cover up. So I'm trying to blend that in, right? All right, so now I look a little funny. I look a little ghastly pale, right? Now we have to add color back into our face. But first, we want to set what we have done so far. So I am going to set with this NYX Mineral Setting Powder. I'm using the mineral powder because it doesn't contain the mica. Mica is very shiny. So mica can cause a bit of a ghastly effect, especially with artificial lighting. So if you ever see somebody who they take a picture and suddenly they look like flashback Mary. Yeah. So we're going to use this mineral powder because it's not going to do that. And this is, it's NYX, it's really economical. I just want to do a light dusting, so I'm using this fan brush. It tends to put on a lighter coat than, say, one of these thick fluffy brushes. So we are just going to, we dip in and tap off. Try not to inhale while you're doing this. Learn from my mistakes. And what you'll feel wet spots on your face suddenly not feeling wet. And that's what you want. And then you just kind of go in and you feel for any really wet spots. So like I can feel that I need to apply a little bit more powder right here under my eye. And you want it to feel nice and dry. I've got some more right there. Yep. Awesome. So now we've got that set and we are ready to move on. FYI, I know we're at like 14 minutes. That's because I'm talking. And I always take a longer time doing my own makeup than doing someone else's. Isn't this fantastic? This is just styling and profiling with that powder all over my glasses. Okay, so now we're going to go in with we're going to add the color back into our face, right? So this is Pacifica. You can get this brand at the drugstore. And this is just a basic bronzer blush palette. You're going to need a nice fresh brush. All right, so we're going to get a brush like this, and you want it to be relatively loose, right? And pardon my destroyed bronzer, but it's my favorite bronzer, so even though it's shattered, I'm going to keep using it. All right, so we're going to get just a little bit, and you start back here at your temples, and then you come down underneath your cheekbones, and that's how we're going to bronze. And then we're going to go the other side. temples, and then keep going down, and you're going to use circular motions, light, gentle circular motions. We're not loading up on bronzer, we're just getting a little bit. We're not doing drag, so we want this to look natural, especially since this is Star Trek, you know. And then you can see I've got a very strong widow's peak. So remember we talking about shadows and contour and everything? I am going to lower my forehead by putting a little bit of bronzer there. And I like to use bronzer, especially when we're talking about doing video or something where you have to look more natural. I like using bronzer instead of contour powder. It tends to go on a little bit lighter, it looks more natural. Contour powder is really good for photo purposes, or when you're able to control the angles that you see somebody. But if you can't control those angles as well because someone is walking through a scene, right, then you want it to look much more natural. Right here I am getting rid of the double chin. So you just lift your head up and you circular motions underneath the chin, right? And then there's not any powder left on this brush. I'm just blurring the lines, blending down my neck. All right, and then because I'm blind as bat, I am going to check my work. Awesome. So you see I'm not looking as ghastly anymore, right? Now, next step will be blush. And I am going to be using let's see, what blush do I want to use? I had my blush picked out and then I lost it. So we're going to pick a new blush. Pause. Okay, found it. So this is a Clinique blush. It's just a basic pink with a little bit of shimmer. See, it's just going to add a little bit of color, and we're going to use that same blush the same brush that we did our the same brush that we did our bronzer with. And we're going to start not all the way back at the, wait, sorry, it's been a minute. All right, so you start here at the apples of the cheek, and then go back that way. And you want to bring it onto the bridge of your nose just slightly. All right, and now, and you always want to tap off your excess powder, otherwise when you put your brush to your face, you'll have a spot with a lot of product there, and it can be hard to blend out. All right. So now, where did my glasses go so I can check my work? And usually I wouldn't have to pause this much, but I'm trying to let y'all see what I'm doing. All right. Cool. I think we like that. All right, so as you can see, that gives me like a nice natural flush. I've got the color there. Now I am going to quickly do brows. So I get my brows shaped. If you don't get your brows shaped, you may want to, even you men, just take a quick trip to a hair salon when it's not COVID-19. Of course, we shouldn't be filming when it's COVID-19, but we're filming this during COVID-19. So when it's not COVID-19, go to a hair salon and get your eyebrows shaped. All right, so if you want to do more intense, which I'll do one that's a little bit more effort to it, right? So you take a spoolie brush, which looks like that, and you brush the hairs up, and you can take a pencil or you can take a pomade or whatever. This is just a pencil from the brand Brow Gal, and you kind of start in the middle right? And you go out to the tail. And then to sharpen the tail, you use your spoolie again. And then when you get to the front, and then you kind of blend it with your spoolie. This is really hard to do while you hold a mirror and try to figure out camera angles, and I just want y'all to know that. Just want y'all to know what I'm going through right now. It's really hard to do. Right, so that darkens my brow just a little bit. This shade is medium brown. So you can see all I really did is define my brow shape, and then you want to make a point here, right? So I just defined my brow shape, and then you would go in. I like to go in with a brow gel, and you clean off the end so you don't get a goopy bit. And then just go in, and it helps set your brow hairs in place and provides a little bit of contrast, because most people don't have all brow hairs that are the same color, right? So it adds a little bit of realness, and that's that eyebrow. Now, if you want to be quicker about it, you just go straight in with this. I would still start with a spoolie and brush brow hairs up. And let's put this back in. Oh, this is gonna be hard. Okay. Oh, I made a mess. This is hard. But you're just gonna go in without making a mess like me, because this is hard when I can't see. But I'll show you how to clean up that mess, right? And when you get to the end, like that. And we're gonna go back to the spoolie because I made a mess. See, that softens it up and picks up our messy. And that's how you would just quickly do using the gel. Let me check myself. Yeah. So you can see it's not as like defined as this one, but it still makes my blonde eyebrows look a little bit more pleasant. All right. Now, real quick, I did a little bit of looking, and I wanted to point out that you can see I've got kind of like a hole in my eyebrow. That's what we're trying to address, right? So I'm just gonna go in with the pencil real quick. And then brush. Better. All right, so now we're gonna go into the eyes. I like to do just a little bit of defining on the eyes. It helps to make them pop off your face a little bit more. So we start with an eyeshadow primer. You can use your concealer, or you can use something designated for it. I've got a little sample of some Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. NYX also has really good eyeshadow primers. I don't have any right now. But you would just use a primer real quick. So, and a lot of people like to do their eyes before their face, especially if you're using a cheaper eyeshadow palette that is more prone to having fallout. Randy wanted me to stick to economical options. With my freelancing, I can be a little bit of an eyeshadow snob, so I don't have cheap palettes. That said, I do have some stuff from ColourPop. ColourPop is pretty cheap. They're not in drugstores. Their stuff is only available online. But if you want really good quality, really reasonable prices, I recommend ColourPop. For neutrals, they've got this one. It's Baby Got Peach, and it's all peach tones. I also really like this Frozen Anna palette. It's kind of like sweater weather vibes. But for today, I'm going to stick to the peach tones. Those tend to look really nice on a variety of skin tones. And I'm going to put my glasses back on so I can find my brushes. Okay. We're going to start off with, and don't mind my brushes being dirty. They're only used on my face, and they've only been used one time prior to this, so they're still reasonable. But I've got a variety of brushes, so we're going to start with like a nice fluffy brush and do just a wash of color. So I'm going in with the lightest shade here, and your most intense colors you're going to want to keep towards the outer edge of your eye. So I'm going to start there. I'm using very light motions. Quick trick. So because I can't see, I kind of have to place my hand on my face to help figure out where my brush is going. But if you're not like me, then you can hold your brush further back, and that gives you a lighter hand. I have to kind of figure it out because I have to touch my face to figure out where the brush is going. So we're just doing a wash of color, and we're doing really light motions. But do you see how that's already adding some definition to my face? And we're wanting to keep this pretty natural, so I'm not going to be doing a whole lot. I probably got way too many brushes out, actually. But you would just stick to a brown that's a few shades darker than your skin tone. And then we'll go ahead and do, just to unify the look, you can see I'm just going barely at the under part of my eye, the outer edge, just to add a little bit of color. Now I need to, oh, I stuck my finger in it. I need to put a little bit more on this side. All right, so next we're gonna go with a neutral tone. I like to put just a little bit of shimmer. And you can just apply that with your finger. And we're gonna go from about the center of the eye to the inner corner. All right, and I used that color. Now we're going to take this lightest shimmery color. We're not going to take the glitter. That looks lighter, but it's a lot of glitter. We're not gonna do glitter. So we're gonna take that lightest one on a new finger and just go on that inner corner. And this helps to really pull light to the eyes. All right. Now I want to darken the outer corner and the crease just a little bit. So I'm going to go in with this shade. All right, now I'm going to take, this brush and I'm going to go back into that lightest shade. This is the one that I did the wash of color with. And I'm going to go back in with the darker shade that I used to darken up the outer corner. Okay, and that's our neutral eyeshadow. If you want, you can go in with an eyeliner right now. Whenever I'm doing neutral makeup, I usually like to leave off the eyeliner, and instead I go straight in with mascara. There are a lot of really good drugstore mascaras. Let's see. This is Benefit, they're real. This is available at Ulta. It's a little bit more expensive. I've heard a lot of really good things about Maybelline Lash Bang, I think is what it's called. But it's in like a yellow tube. Let's see. This is just like, this is a NYX. It's NYX on the Rise. It's nothing amazing about it, but it's going to help darken your lashes, which is, if you're like me and you have blonde eyelashes, you'll want it. I will say, if you're also like me and you have sensitive eyes, you want to stay away from lengthening mascaras because they tend to have a product in there that can like flake into your eyes and really irritate them if you have sensitive eyes. A lot of people don't have trouble with it. I do. Let's see. I'm gonna pause you while I figure out what mascara I'm gonna do, and then I'll tell you. Okay, so the mascara that I'm going to use, because I have sensitive eyes and I figured out what works for my eyes and doesn't hurt them, it's not cheap. Don't take my advice on this one. But this is Urban Decay Perversion Mascara. And I'm using this just because it doesn't hurt my eyes. I'm not going to use a drugstore one that I don't know if it's going to hurt my eyes or not. So it's going to be really difficult for me to do this on camera. So I'm just going to put on my mascara and then talk to you again in a minute. Actually, some of you may not know how to do it. So you're going to want to tilt your head back and kind of look down. And then I like to roll my mascara from the base of my lashes out. And then you can kind of go back in and give it a little wiggle to try to coat the whole lash. So with mascara, without mascara, looks human, looks alien. And then just a little bit of light mascara on the bottom lash. And that's one eye, and I'm gonna do the other eye off camera. All right, so mascara is on, right? Last part for the face. This is optional. I like to put a little bit of highlighter to help add a little bit of healthy shine back to my face. This is a colorless one. It's from Ciate. It's called Dewy Stick. You just take and dab right here, pat it in. And this is for a really natural look. A little bit on the nose, above the eyes. Draw light to the lips. All right, so there's that. And then you spray it in place. If you are more prone to oils, then you want to stick to a mattifying one. This is NYX Matte Finish. If you're like me and you tend to have more dry skin, then you may want to do a dewy one. So this is the NYX Dewy Finish. So, and the way that I do it is I kind of lift my face and then spray upwards so that it falls onto your face. And then kind of let it air dry. But do you see how that helps the powders kind of melt in and set and look a lot more natural? If you got any big spots, you would take a makeup sponge. This is a makeup sponge that I told you I would show you. And you would just pat those big thick bubbles. I can't see, so I'm just going everywhere. And that will help it to not make a weird, obvious makeup spot on your face. All right, so now that we're set, we'll do the lips last. So you can use a lipstick. You can use a liquid lipstick. I like to use gloss just because gloss can be really hydrating and I have chronically chapped lips. All right, so we'll take just a little bit and where'd my brush go? All right, take a brush. And this is how I would do lipstick if I had some chapped lips and needed to recover the situation. So you see what I did is I just took a little bit of that lipstick, enough to get a color, and it's liquid lipstick, so it's not going to move around or go anywhere. And then I just kind of buffed it out so that I've got a more natural looking wash of color on my lips, right? And then you could take a gloss, if you're like me and you really need a gloss to not let your lips just die. Preferably one that doesn't have glitter in it. So this is Be a Bombshell. It's just a sample I got somewhere. But you would want a flesh toned one like this. There you go. Looks pretty natural, right? And I'm gonna do one last look and then I'll see I'll give you any last thoughts. realized I never contoured my nose. So you can always go back and do whatever you missed. See? All right, so that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Randy's also going to have me do a Vulcan makeup, which is going to be significantly different from this because Vulcans don't have redness in their cheeks, they have green. So yeah,